Hello Year 7s, it's Mr O'Mara here, and you might even be able to hear your own voices in the background as you're about to go out to PE. I just wanted to do a very quick recap of what we talked about today in MESH, and in particular the work that we've done with mapping. We started with a map off Google Maps. I actually think we looked at a map of the world and we identified 20 things, types of information that we could actually get off this map. So, obviously we have the names of countries, so that's one. We have water and land, so that's two. We have the names of cities, so that's three. We have the names of bodies of water, which is four. We have some topographical information. Not all land is the same, so we can tell the difference between mountains and plains, and I think we might be able to tell forested areas. We have the implication of where north is, although it doesn't actually say. We can tell the difference between ice, which we have down here as you can see, and land. They look different. We can tell where the data came from or who it's owned by. And we went on and on. Oh, we've got the scale down here, of course, so that we can actually see quite a bit about what's going on just from the map. They really are very rich with information. So from that, we actually went in and we talked about what a map is. So we talked that through as a group and we actually put together our own ideas, and then we got to this, which is the working definition that we're using. So most maps, or at least the maps we're working with, are diagrams of the Earth's surface. They tend not to represent what's going on up in the atmosphere or down below, although there are maps that will do that. But we were certainly looking at Earth's surface maps. Then we talked about where we see some maps. So you might want to have a bit of a think about where you see maps, and people actually came up with some really good maps that they see around the place. And I think we did it up on the interactive whiteboard, and we probably came up with 15 different maps. So here are some of them, and you can read that yourself. I don't need to read it to you. But maps are a very rich part of what we do. We talked about the purposes, and again we workshopped it, but we talked about travel to show the features of the land, the distance. We also talked about how you might just look at a map to see about where you could go. So you might look and say, oh, there's a lake, I'm interested in, water skiing, or sometimes I'm looking for like dog parks and stuff to take my dogs for a walk. So you can use maps for all kinds of things. It's not just travel, although that tends to be about where we want to go and place ourselves. Then we talked about the information that should be on a map. What we actually did is we worked backwards from those 20 things that we observed about the Google map, and we actually came up, or we didn't come up, we were presented with this, which is the BOLTS acronym. And of course an acronym is a word that's made up of letters that represent other words. So we have a B for border, O for orientation, L for legend, T for title, S for scale, and S for source. And we actually went back to the Google map and saw whether it had all of those things, and it actually didn't, which would suggest that, it's not the definitive map. It's good for some things, but there are still elements that we would want to work into our maps. Then we had a look at a sketch map. Now I don't actually have a diagram of a sketch map here, but a sketch map is a very quick and easy informal map that gives you just the information you need for what it is that you're talking to the person about. And we made a sketch map of Australia showing the states, and then we made a sketch map of, I think, either going from home to school or your house to a friend's house. And we looked at those, and finally we did a Venn diagram of how a BOLTS or formal map is different to a quick sketch map. So that's where we've left it, and we'll come back soon and do some more work on this.